Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Aquarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of January 2021. Happy New Year to you, Aquarius. I'm using the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot for you today. Yes, I was just checking it was Otherworlds, not the lands. Anyway. Before we get started, just want to remind you that the 6-month overviews for each of the signs are now available. That's the second link in the description. The first link will be the extended to this. If it resonates and you would like to go a little bit deeper, you can follow that first link. If you want to have a look at what the next 6 months holds for you, you can look at the second link. And the third link is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, over on Circle. So if any of those tickle your fancy, you know what to do. Let's just get these another shuffle. And let's see what's going on with you, Aquarius. Could I have 3 cards, please, for Aquarius? Thank you. We have the Judgment card in your recent past. That's Aries or Scorpio in the Major Arcana. And we have, in your current energy, we have, pick it up, we've got the Queen of Pentacles. That's Capricorn energy. And what's coming towards Aquarius for January, please? Well, not taking all of those, that's a glut. We've got the 6 of Cups, we've got the Hangman, and we've got the 10 of Swords. I'm going to show those to you, but we're not going to take them because that's far too many. It does suggest that you're about to change perspective quite dramatically on past traumas, really. There's no other way of putting it, possibly some aspect of your life story and narrative that you have told yourself all of this time. There's a deeper understanding of what perhaps the context around it or the way that you responded to it. It feels like that could be quite deep. Now I'm gonna pull one more. Thank you. We've got the Devil, which actually, to be honest, given the cards, no, it's the 10 of Swords has appeared at the bottom of the deck there. Given the cards that have just come out, and I've just dropped the Death card here too, it's talking to a huge shift incoming for you. And I'm not at all actually concerned about the presence of the Devil here on account of those 3 cards that just popped out before. Because, we'll get into it later on. But serving as context for the presence of the Devil, the 10 of Swords, Hanged Man and 6 of Cups feels like a reframing of the narrative of your life, right? A new understanding coming, a deeper understanding coming, and a release of sorts. Is the world, I know. I was checking which deck I wanted to use to clarify. And it's all happening in Capricorn season, which is right now. I've got some big energies going on here because not only do we have a new moon in Capricorn occurring on the 23rd, I don't know what date you're watching this, but that was something that had happened. And we're going into Capricorn season. We've got Mercury retrograde as well. And what Mercury retrograde does very, very well is support going over things that have already occurred. Now, the idea with this particular retrograde, I feel, is to have everybody kind of going back and looking at where they've come from, what they're doing, where they thought they wanted to go, and where, in fact, it turns out when they've got some more insight into who they are and all that kind of thing. Realising that all of that is changing, right? We're going backwards in order that when Mercury goes direct again, we'll be able to take quite monumental leaps forwards. But before you get there, there's a lot of work in kind of prodding around in the things that are uncomfortable for you. Like I said, that 10 of Swords has appeared at the bottom of the deck again, speaking to past situations, and it is past situations because we had that 6 of Cups arrive first. Past situations that have been uncomfortable, right? It's perhaps a way that you perceive something in your life that is ripe for change. You've outgrown that particular way of thinking about things, you know. And it could be, it's one thing where you felt like a bit of a victim in a situation, and now you're looking at it from a different perspective, and you can see the empowerment that is available to you if you heal that, if you let that go. Let's get some clarifiers before I go any further. Could I get a card for Judgment, please? 2 cards. We've got the Moon, and we've also got the 6 of Swords in reverse. Tell me about the Queen of Pentacles. There's the Queen of Pentacles here. We have the 5 of Wands and the 8 of Swords. There's that tension. Tell me about the Devil, please. There's the Devil here. Ooh. We have the 7 of Swords, and we have the Wheel of Fortune. This is a very, every card that comes out, this is the Temperance card at the bottom of the deck here. Every card that comes out is underscoring exactly what is going on here for you at this point. So we have pain, humiliation, betrayal, certain endings that were less than comfortable, depicted in the 10 of Swords. But with the Temperance card, we have the ability to alchemize those situations and start looking for the things that actually feed us. I guess they feed you in all sorts of ways, right? But the things that feed the brighter, more positive, more hopeful aspect of you, rather than the more detached, the more cold, the more like not really wanting to get too close to anyone or anything aspect that sometimes Aquarians suffer with. And we actually talked about this quite a lot in the Looking for the Lesson reading, so I'll put that up at the end for you to go and have a look at. But this looks really, really positive to me. I'm going to just flip this around here for a second so that you can have a look at what's going on. So we start with Judgment. And Judgment is sometimes exactly what it says on the tin, right? It is your judgment of a matter. Now bear in mind that we also saw that Hanged Man. We can see your judgment on something changing quite spectacularly. We have that sense of a new perspective, of new insight coming in, that provides a level of wisdom that perhaps up until this point has eluded you on a situation. But the other meaning of Judgment, and one that's particularly relevant given the onset of Mercury retrograde, and we're very much in the shadow period of it now. I think it stations direct properly on the 29th or 30th, depending where you are in the world, is this sense of resurrection, right? Things coming up for you to look at. And having the Moon and the 6 of Swords in reverse showing up here together, I mean, there's no getting away from this. It could be that this energy has been catalyzed by the reappearance of someone from your past, and if it has, don't panic, they're not sticking around. People who reappear in retrogrades don't tend to stick around because the idea is to set off some chain reaction, some set of thought processes that take you to something. Now we've got 2 cards here that speak of something coming back. It could be a person, it could be a particular situation that you thought you'd dealt with that is coming back because it hasn't been dealt with properly, or it could be some sort of patterning that you are now recognizing within yourself, and it's like, well, fuck, here's this situation again. This time, what can I start to do to think about things differently? Well, I mean, that would be the ideal. It isn't always the case. Sometimes we go, fuck, I've got to deal with this situation again. I'm going to do it exactly the way that I have done it all of this time because my nervous system recognizes that when I do X, it goes away. So I stay alive, at least, and that's really the only marker of success that your nervous system is looking for. But the Moon card is about, for me, it's about your subconscious, it's about your non-conscious. It's about the stuff that is happening under the radar of your consciousness. And some of the things that could be resurrected might not even involve a person or a situation reappearing. I've done this long enough to know that sometimes it is just the suggestion of that, right? You bump into someone that you haven't seen in ages, and they tell you about somebody that used to be really important to you, or a situation that you used to be deeply involved in that has, you know, some news about that, and it starts the ball rolling, right? It's like a domino effect, and you start thinking about this thing, and then all of a sudden all of these things come up that you didn't expect. There is a return to something, and there is a return to something that is currently shrouded in mystery for you. Now, the purpose of this is to bring it out into the light so that you can see what it is and change your perspective on some aspect of it here. It doesn't mean that you have to pull a full 180 on a judgment that you have made previously. Sometimes it can be one small aspect of something that is just tweaked just a little bit. And it shows you something about yourself. Now, when we come into your current energy, we've got the Queen of Pentacles. And that I find very, very interesting, because for me, the Queen of Pentacles, like, she represents Capricorn, but she also talks about self-care. She talks about how we invest in ourselves. She talks about how, you know, how we look after ourselves, essentially. But look at all of this resistance under here. We have the Five of Wands and the Eight of Swords. Now, this is representative of a certain mindset or a certain aspect of your mindset that seems to be stuck here. I don't think in a month of Sundays that the other meaning of this applies to you, which is that of, you know, a needing to be saved. I don't think that that applies here, Aquarius. But what it does talk about is this this inability to think differently about a particular thing. We've got conflict here. And is that active conflict with someone else, or is that internal conflict? Well, I think given what we're seeing here, it's very clearly to me internal conflict about something. And the question is, why can't I look after myself this way? What is it that stops me from being kind to myself, right? These are example questions that I'm throwing up, right? What stops me investing in myself? What possibly has me investing in myself only, ever? You know, because there might be questions of intimacy and all sorts of things being thrown up here. I want to pull up the Triple Goddess and clarify this. Thank you. So, we've got the Strength card showing up sideways. And we've got the Fool with the Magician at the bottom of the deck, right there. This is all about empowerment. And I feel like with the Strength card showing up sideways like that, it's not that you're feeling disempowered, but you're certainly feeling far from empowered at the moment, and certainly not feeling liberated and free enough and trusting enough even to be able to take yourself out into, you know, into a new cycle. I mean, it's coming. And I think this is the important thing, that you know that this is coming, that you know that there's some sort of big change that's coming up. And it's almost like you can sense on the wind that there is this change of perspective that is also coming up for you too. But the Judgment card is the penultimate card of the Major Arcana, so it's not quite the end, but it's certainly prepping the ground, ready for the end to occur. And once the end has occurred, then the beginning can come in. It's about creating space. And for you, always, Aquarius, it's about creating mental space for things. You know, it's not that your brain is cluttered, but it is that you tend to think very hard about stuff. And if one aspect of the way that you think about things is stuck in a pattern, is stuck in a loop, that doesn't allow new information to come in. Like, sometimes we just don't know that we're thinking in that way. Why was I talking about that yesterday? I did Virgo's reading yesterday. I was talking about a similar thing. Like, you just don't know that your thought patterns could be different, you know? So what we've got here is something that is bringing you towards the potential for completion. And then we've got a new start indicated by the Fool. But what we have is that last little bit that needs to be navigated before you can pop out through the other side into this new cycle that you know is coming. It could be that the awareness of this new cycle that is coming the awareness of how you feel like you're on the precipice of change is the thing that is causing your subconscious to kind of dig in and go, oh, I'm not sure about this. You know, the question of how you look after yourself and what it is that you need that you don't get is one that I feel is going to be rolling around in your head for quite a bit of this period. You know, I don't know when you'll be watching this, whether you're, you know, watching it at the end of December or halfway through January. But everything that the Queen of Pentacles represents, that which you know you should be investing in yourself with, and yet wherever possible you seem to be resisting it. Like that's a point of leaning to lean into right there, because this doesn't get to turn the right way up, and this doesn't get to do its thing unless you create space for those to come in. You know? Now, what we've got coming towards you in January is the devil, and like I said, I'm actually not even slightly concerned about that at all, in anything more than in an asking you to be aware kind of way, because it feels like January is going to be a month where you are facing down some of your demons, and you're doing it in a way that perhaps might not have seemed possible a few months ago. You know, the devil represents toxicity and codependence, and sometimes pathological or psychotic, psychopathic, any of those modifiers, versions of independence, right? So I'm not going to be dependent. I'm not going to be this. I'm not going to be that. You know, we talked about this in the looking for the lesson reading, in terms of the difference between codependence and interdependence, how one of those was very healthy and the other one absolutely was not, but also a resistance to any kind of healthy dependency being in and of itself an unhealthy state to be in. You know, there's a lot here to challenge your mind during January, and all of it has you facing down things that actually on a low level you are pretty afraid of. I mean, sometimes just the realization that there are things that you're afraid of can be the biggest kneecapper that you can experience. You know, literally takes your legs out from underneath you, and you go, well, fuck, I'm not scared of anything. But it turns out actually I am. I'm scared of loads of things. Like, what the fuck? It takes time to process. And the beautiful thing about this is, we've got double Capricorn as well, actually. I'll point this out to you. Is that during this Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, all of the energy is supporting this kind of insight, right? And the idea is not to make you a navel gazer or anything like that, not have you, you know, contemplating the meaning of life, the universe, and everything as it presents to Aquarius. It's about digging deep inside of you and seeing what it is that you're scared of, what it is that is holding you back, and eliminating that so that you might move forwards. And when you move forwards, everybody is going to be moving forwards at quite the accelerated pace. And so it really is worth your time to work with the energies at this point. You know, the clarifiers that we've got here are the Seven of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. And like I said, it's such a straightforward meaning, because the Seven of Swords talks about the ways in which we deceive ourselves, and you know, it has other meanings too. It can talk about deceptive behavior from other people, and there might be an aspect of that here, but because of the presence of the Moon card, it makes me feel like all of this is very deep and very internal, and you know, not really up necessarily for discussion with anybody else. It's about your experience. And whilst you might consider yourself to have an objective view about your own internal experience, the chances are that actually it's missing quite a bit of information, and this seems to be what's coming up for you in January. And once you have that information, you can see where it is that you've pulled the wool over your own eyes. You know, looking for what you're resisting, even just the notion of, will be something that will give you a big leg up this month. It's once you've worked that out, then you can stop deceiving yourself about X, Y, and Z. And, you know, this could be... What we're not looking at here is old situations where you've been humiliated or betrayed, or somebody has been, you know, behaved in a deceptive way, and going, oh, well, actually, you were wrong. None of that applies. That's not what's going on here. What would be more likely is you have been hurt by something, right? There's been some sort of past wound that has occurred, and you've told yourself, well, I don't fucking care anyway. It's fine. I fuck them. Whatever. Right? And then pushed down any emotion that you did have connected to that thing, like pushed it down into a little corner of yourself. It would be about looking at that and going, well, actually, I did care. Well, that actually really did hurt. And I wasn't expecting that, and I didn't see that coming. And that, as a corollary of that, it changed the way that I dealt with people moving forwards. It changed the way that I dealt with new people when they came in. You know, it's all been about protecting yourself from getting hurt. But, you know, whenever the devil's involved, there's always an illusory aspect to what is happening. The devil only has the power that you give him, and we give the devil power when we deceive ourselves, when we are not radically honest with how we feel about something. And I think particularly for you, Aquarius, because you try not to engage your emotions in the important decisions that you're trying to make, just the very notion of kind of tapping into that might seem counterintuitive and messy, except that this is what is being asked of you this month, and there'll be a reason for that. You know, the Wheel of Fortune here says there is definitely a reason for that, because things are about to change. This shift that you can perceive is absolutely bang on the nail, but the shift isn't going to happen outside of you first. It needs to happen inside. And the Wheel of Fortune always deals with those things that we have learned, and then things change as a result of the things that we have learned about ourselves. You know, this, I often talk about the Wheel of Fortune as being somewhat of a checkpoint, right? It's not a karmic test. It's not something that you can pass or fail, but it's a checkpoint, a save point on a game, right? You play through, you get so far, and then you hit a save point. Now, in the future, you might fuck up in all sorts of ways, but you'll only ever come back to this save point here, right? Until the next save point kicks in. And it's always about digging around in your psyche and seeing what it is that is holding you back. And that's what we've got going on here. Again, I feel this Wheel of Fortune is very much connected to a big shift that is coming up for you. I have to say, in the 6-month overviews, actually, there was only one sign, I think it was only Sagittarius who didn't have the Tower coming up. Like, everything is changing for everyone, and this is an opportunity to get out ahead of that. You know, whether it's because of what is happening out in the world, or whether it's because you need to change something. You know, the consequences could be just as big whichever way it goes around. I mean, look at this Magician at the bottom of the deck here. I mean, the Magician says you have all the tools that you need. You are bound only by the limits of your own imagination. You're bound only by the limits of your own self-belief. You know, what this seems to be doing here is giving you access to a cup, which is a necessary part of the Magician's arsenal. You know, they need access to all 4 of the elements, you know, combined with their intent, in order to manifest for themselves the life that they want. And this is all about working out how you are holding yourself back, Aquarius, and what you can do about it. I think that's absolutely magnificent, to be honest. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to hop over to Vimeo now, and we're going to pull January apart in just a little bit, and see what gives, and see if I can give you some useful advice about how to proceed forwards. So if you're interested in that, please do feel free to follow the first link in the description box, and check out the other 2 links if you're interested as well. But for now, know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.